Performance just always felt so out of alignment. I was either
Mm.
striving for more or I wasn't satisfied, or, there was always, and when I say even performance, even like losing weight.
Welcome back to Positive Vibes. I'm your host, Nicki Dennis. Today, this is a space for soul led, the one that has fallen apart and pieced themselves back together with honesty, softness, and sacred truth. Our guest today is one of those women. Lara Bokovay is an intuitive, a guide, and a fearful truth teller who helps women return home to themselves, not through hustle or performance, but through nervous system healing, inner child integration, and spiritual embodiment. Her journey hasn't been polished, it's been real. She's walked through miscarriage, burnout, heartbreak, divorce, solo motherhood, and physical injury. And somehow, with each chapter, she chose to go deeper, deeper into her truth, into her kindness, into her softness, and the kind of alignment that isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Lara is here to share what it really looks like to live in your truth, even when it's messy and even when it shakes up everything you thought you knew. Because telling the truth, especially the uncomfortable kind, is what sets us free. Lara, I'm so honored to have you in this space today.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikki.
Now, Lara, as I've mentioned, you lived through some really big life chapters: miscarriage, divorce, solo motherhood, and even injury. What did it feel like to move through all of that whilst trying to stay connected to yourself?
Extremely difficult.
Mm.
It was interesting. I actually saw a post that I put on Instagram years ago when my daughter was first born, and truly trying to heal yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally while all of a sudden being cast into a different role of, being the primary caretaker was one of the most challenging and raw journeys that was not for the faint of heart. And, it sort of, when one event happened, another one would follow near after. It's like I never, you know, truly, my daughter's 6 now. And, over the past 6 years, it was like I never caught a break, in the sense of it was just one thing after the next to navigate. The beautiful thing is it became easier to navigate every single experience and every new challenge that arose, but it was challenging. It was hard. It was not easy. And
Mm.
um
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there that's resonating with you that each challenge, and it just lined up with another challenge behind it, and it just was there it was like a momentum of happening, and they didn't feel that they could get a break. So, was there a moment when you realized that you were no longer performing, but truly living in your truth?
Honestly, it was quite recent. And when I say quite recent, I think we go through different levels. Like you heal in layers. So I mean,
Mm.
you'll heal for the rest of your life, right? And even, there'll be a new awareness or a new perspective that you'll, pull into your healing journey. But I think through the process, and one of the main lines that I always say to myself is, life is happening for you, not to you. And so when different things sort of unfurl and happen, it's like, right, okay, redirection, navigation. What do I actually need to process? And I think that came from a level or a heightened level of self-awareness. Every
Hmm.
single time we go through those healing cycles, healing journeys, that either outer layer of different things. I truly think that our self-awareness expands, 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 expands. And
Mm,
so it's taking all those moments and sort of saying, okay, right, this is where I am now, as opposed to, you work through your fight or flight, you work through your initial fears, you work through those different things. And so as obviously things still happen that ruffle your feathers, but I'm able to now navigate them within minutes as
mm,
opposed to spiraling over them for weeks or for months. And I think that's the end result of eliminating all those fears and not giving weight to any of those fears. Like I could pretty much break down every pillar in my life. And when it came to not performing, performance just always felt so out of alignment. I was either
mm,
striving for more or I wasn't satisfied or, there was always, and when I say even performance, even like losing weight, from the feminine angle, there was never that like you were never satisfied. You always wanted something different. You always wanted something more. And so doesn't matter what it is when you were trying to fit into someone else's mold or do what someone else has tasked you to do or what is expected of you or all those limiting beliefs that you absorb,
mm,
taking away that component of performance or that component of needing to fit in or and not wanting to be judged and shamed and all the guilt and everything that goes around with performance, working away at those layers over
mm,
time, right? Because like and when I say recently we go through different, as we heal, you can't
mm,
rush your healing. And I truly believe that everyone's on their own curriculum and timeline in regards to their healing journey. And you can't rush it because life still needs to unfurl to give you the different opportunities to choose you.
mhm,
Every opportunity that you go through. So it's like, sometimes I'm working with clients and what they're working through is a lot of family stuff. Well, you have to wait until the holidays to have the opportunity to stand and hold boundaries with your family. And if we start working in February, well, you still have until
mm,
December to work up your courage and work on the other things and plant those seeds leading up into that. You can't rush those holiday events. Now, there could be birthdays, there could be barbecues, there could be all those types of things. However, the life still needs to happen organically. Life still needs to unfurl for you to move through. It's like, different stages between my daughter's home, then going off to school, and then navigating different things with her father. Like, you can't rush
mm,
those things. They all happen organically. And so it's like, once you surrender to life and allow life to unfurl as it does, you realize that those different events and opportunities will arise as they should in perfect divine timing, for you to choose yourself in that new light, in that new level, with that new awareness. And so
mhm,
that's sort of it's an ongoing thing, but I think the performance was, yeah, when you everything that you do, truly in this society, we are conditioned to perform,
yeah,
to fit in, to please others for, the result of how someone else would perceive you. That's all performance. And
yeah,
so when you realize or have that awareness that everything is performance based,
mm,
generally, then
yeah,
it's like, okay, wardrobe, lifestyle choices, conversations, like everything has that thread of performance, that thread of judgment and self-judgment and all of those things.
mm,
So I think it's something that's really like woven into every pillar and aspect of our life.
yeah. And to take that a little bit further, you talk about personal rebirth. Can you explain what that looked like for you emotionally and spiritually?
It was like everything happened at once.
Mm,
Like, people go through different levels of awakening for sure,
yeah.
or, blinders being ripped off, but it's like when one thing makes sense, like when your perspective shifts in one thing, it's like a domino effect or a
Yeah.
snowball effect for everything else to happen. And so, um, there was different, obviously in the different, I went through large pillars of life. So whether it's giving birth and becoming a mother, whether it's going through divorce, whether it's leaving my corporate job, whether it's creating a business, discovering my spiritual gifts, and then, it's like, well, what did you go to school for? Well, something completely different than I'm doing now. But, like there was so many large like timeline shifts or
Mm.
large, like large life event moments that have really, then we went through the pandemic. Like there were so many huge moments of my world being upside down or, like large things that like, okay, the universe is quite loud and nobody moves when we're comfortable. So what does the universe do? It makes you
Mm.
really uncomfortable that you have to do something. And even if you stayed, it would still be very uncomfortable. So, the noise got so loud. Like the universe just got so loud with different things, that I was sort of humbled and floored and all at the same time with the different like the different experiences because it's like okay,
Mm.
right, didn't expect this or didn't expect this, but here we go. And so I mean, one of the biggest things for me also was to stay out of victim mindset.
Hmm.
I think we truly co-create our own reality. And so not only was I, yes, affected by what was going on externally, I
Hmm.
knew that my own trauma and wounding also created my reality.
Yeah. Mm.
And so I took ownership for how I navigated it moving forward. So that was, you know, you can spend a very long time when you can blame everyone else,
Mm.
when at the end of the day it's irrelevant of what's going on for everyone else. What's only relevant is what's going on for you. And
Yeah.
so you could choose truly to live heaven or hell. It just what is that, and what is that choice? And it comes down to just a choice. And that's,
Mm.
it's not, healing isn't rocket science. It's a choice. And accountability, once again, it's a choice. Every
Mm.
how we co-create something different is truly a choice at the end of the day. um
Yeah.
they're not easy choices,
Mm. So it
but
is
it,
that,
it is a
yeah,
choice.
it is a natural trait for humans to blame everyone else because it protects them and makes them feel safe. A big part of your message is about telling the truth, even when it's inconvenient. Why is it so important, but especially for women, to tell the truth?
When you tell the truth, you cannot be thrown off.
Mm.
And we are so conditioned to defend.
Mm.
And when you tell your truth, you do not need to defend.
Yeah.
And so in life, I always, and once again, when I say telling the truth could be, are you elaborating that story? Was there drama? I've always been called a drama queen. Is there that much drama? And truly, and I even notice it in my daughter, you don't need to be that dramatic, but
Mm.
unfortunately, as a child, we were conditioned to be that dramatic to get the attention, to get what we needed, right? These are learned conditions that
Yeah.
that started really young, like in school, in daycares, with our caregivers, with our parents. And so when the more that I told my truth and the more
Mm.
that I uncovered what my truth was, because that was also a huge part of that awareness and accountability, was actually, well, what is the truth? What is the root of that? And like, I didn't even know how to actually identify what I was feeling. Like, that
Mm.
was, I always thought I was really good at identifying what I was feeling, but to turn out, anger is really deep sadness and so, or hurt. And so,
Mm,
those, the feeling wheel that you can sort of get online, like what a tool to like, it's like, okay, right, this is what I'm feeling. This is the root of it. Okay, actually, it's deep hurt,
yeah.
hurt people, and truly when you hear that and you're like, yeah, okay, I get it, but when you actually understand someone's emotions and their actions to how they what their truth is, right? Like, so many times people
Mm,
like saying one thing, and as an intuitive, I go, oh no, you are masking something entirely different. And so
yeah.
when you can see that, when you can, and that's the power of witnesses and coaches and working with
Mm,
healers. But when you can see someone's truth and they haven't come to that awareness about themselves. It's not that sometimes they're masking, oh yeah, this is
mm,
fine, this is great. And you're like, it really isn't. And I'll show you why, or, I'll give you some tips of how it's not. I think a lot of times people don't even know their truth because we're so
yeah.
conditioned not to say it out of the fear of making someone else uncomfortable or out of fear of what could happen for us.
Mm,
So once again, there's a lot of fear around telling the truth, but start small,
yeah.
when you start small and when you can do those things and when you could start speaking your truth and getting comfortable with your truth and getting comfortable with your reality of different things, then it makes you unshakable and it makes you
Mm,
feel really aligned in everything you do. There's no regrets, there's no this. You're like, yeah, I showed up authentically me in my truth. This is where I am. Or this
mm,
conversation, you know what? If they don't like it, that's okay. If I were to lie or not say my truth, I wouldn't be kind and compassionate and understanding and all that kind of stuff, right? So,
yeah.
a lot of times friendships, we don't say our truth because we want to maintain the friendship. And,
Yeah.
community is more important than being abandoned to everyone. I mean, abandonment wound
Yeah.
is the core wound for so many people. So, you don't want to be cast out of the circle. You don't want to lose those relationships. And so we have all these fears of making so many people around us so uncomfortable that we don't actually honor what's going on for us. And I think
Yeah.
that's the big difference too, is most of us don't honor what's going on. Most of us aren't willing to say the truth because the truth is scary and the truth is triggering, right? And
Yeah.
and for many people the truth is triggering. Most people do not want to hear the truth. They would
Mm,
rather stay in their delulu
yeah.
of their reality, right? Their
Yeah.
their illusions. Because it's not really a delusion, it's their illusions of whatever reality they've created. And so it could be very, very triggering. And so many people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But it makes you so solid and so grounded and so calm in
Yeah.
everything you navigate when you bring back the intention to what is my truth? What
Yeah.
do I actually, what is a message that I want to portray? What are my true feelings in this? Where are my real raw emotions, regardless of
Mm,
what society tells me how I need to show up? And
yeah.
so I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. So just on those triggers, let's talk more about nervous system healing, not the buzzword, but the lived practice. How has learning to regulate your nervous system changed your ability to show up for others and rebuild and lead?
I was always a firefighter. So
Mm-hmm.
like I wanted to put out it instantly. So and not even from a people pleasing. I just, I just wanted to solve solution, let's move
Mm,
forward. And recognizing my own spiraling and recognizing when something's off, even having a moment to pause or not send the email back or
mm,
respond to the message right away, or and that's just in navigating communication and life. not even my parenting. My parenting has been a huge reflection of my nervous system regulation
Mm,
because I've been able to witness myself in my spiral, and therefore I can witness when my daughters are a direct reflection of what I'm spiraling about. So like energy matches energy, frequency matches frequency, like right? Like the resonance effect is a real thing. So when you can notice and pause, it's once again it's pausing. It's pausing as opposed to reacting. It's taking a breath. What is it like? You don't need to message somebody back right away, like right, like you could sleep
mm,
on a text message back. And I really learned that as well too in navigating co-parenting and that whole unfurling. Like that was a huge, like in real life it's like no, like you know do you want to take on that client? How do you want to message, your daughter's
mm,
father? What is the response to all that? These are real things that when you pause and when you then, because even if you come up with a response for different things, you can go back and say, right, was I clean in that? Where's my intention?
yeah.
And so you can also see your fears in what you responded back. So once again, like nervous system regulation allows you to actually take note and witness yourself in everything.
Mm, yeah.
And so and once again, whether it's journaling, whether it's pausing, whether it's breath work, whether it's movement, whether it's a shower, whether it's, disassociation, whatever it is that you
Mm,
need to do to knock yourself out of that triggered fight or flight mode
mm,
is huge. Because
yeah.
also too, when it comes to nervous system regulation, a lot of people just pawn off their reactions as normal
Yeah.
behavior.
Yeah.
And it's not normal behavior, and a lot of times we don't see anything different. We birds of a flock fly together. Like
Mm,
generally your community most likely have very similar values and styles to you. That's why you're in community together. And so a
mm,
lot of times you don't even know that there is different methods of operation or what it would look like and all that kind of stuff. But, also having that time to pause and being able to see, right, okay, whatever the case is, no, it's just regulating emotions. It's just
yeah.
regulating. And when I say regulating, it's getting you out of fight or flight. That is
Mm,
what nervous system,
yeah.
nervous system regulation is such a buzzword at the moment. It's getting
Yeah.
you out of fight or flight. It's getting
Yeah.
you out of sheer freeze, panic, reaction mode. That's what nervous system regulation is all about.
Yeah.
And, some people can take it further and do meditations and all that kind of stuff. But, at the root of it, it's, get a hold of yourself in this moment, like you're safe.
Yeah. And
And
to
yeah,
further expand on that, is there a difference between doing the work and being the work?
I think you're always in both,
Mm,
really. I think there's a lot of things about you can do the work, but are you actually embodying it
yeah.
is a different, in in the last 5 years, self-awareness and inner child healing and understanding your trauma, these have all
Mm,
been really shared topics that so many people have gravitated to and explored recently. Like there's been a huge wave of really
mm,
understanding yourself and that self-awareness or professional development or whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot of concepts and there's a lot of saying like, yeah, I know that, but are you actually embodying it is the
mm,
different story. And many people don't embody it.
yeah.
So, and that's, it's sort of like, and kindness is is the same thing. People know what kindness is. Very few actually embody it.
Yeah.
Very few people, you say unconditional love and, what is unconditional love? And you talk about it all the time, but how many people actually love with absolutely no conditions?
Mm.
Very few.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good analogy to take home to everyone in that space. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I think it's important to embody it, and
Mm.
and that's there's a lot of concepts that we can become aware of, but the real change or the real sharing of the light is to truly live the way,
Hmm.
lead the way by living the way. That is truly, and to do that, you need to
Mm.
embody your practices, as opposed to just saying, I'm going to do better. Like, one person, it's a commitment, it's a
Mm.
devotion, to
Yeah.
yourself. It's like, no, 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 like you have to understand the actual consequences of your action and then take
Mm.
accountability of knowing, right, if I don't embody this whatever I'm experiencing, co-creating is a
Yeah.
direct reflection of what I still haven't embodied.
Mm. I love that saying, lead the way by living the way. That's such a nice take-home message to everyone here today. So many people out there are still performing. They're stuck in perfectionism and they're still people pleasing. What helped you drop your mask and reclaim your softness?
I really wanted to be loved the way I wanted to be loved.
Mm.
So, I realized, because I was not safe and I was in this hyper independent state, I realized I was living, or driving in my unhealed feminine energy and driving in my masculine energy in everything,
Mm.
in corporate ladders, in my marriage, like all of the above. I was in my masculine. And um the the vision that I had for my life and what I wanted didn't correlate with the person that I was. So, the softness, the flow, the being taken care of, the, princess, king treatment, the queen king treatment, all of the above, I could not have that because I wasn't that person, right? Like I was still making all the decisions and leading in the home and outside the home and
Mm.
all that kind of stuff. So the vision, when I was reflecting on before my marriage ended and we started the uncoupling process, when I was reflecting on all of that, on, well, what does it mean to be loved the way I want to be loved, I
Mm.
realized that yes, those are all how I want to be loved, but in order for those things to happen, I had to feel safe, I had to soften, I had to
Mm.
surrender, I had to find my self-worth and my self-value in order to be valued. So, I think that was the main catalyst, was for matters of the heart in that sense. And even, as a mother, to learn to mother, to nurture, all that kind of stuff. I couldn't be the mother that I wanted, or that I wanted to be for her, if I actually wasn't in my healed feminine.
Yeah. So
I
just
couldn't be.
so just in that feminine power, what does that mean to you now? Not as an aesthetic, but as an energy.
It means that I'm in this creative, receiving,
Mm.
flowed state, knowing that life happens for me, not to me, and knowing that everything happens for my highest good, even
Mm.
though we don't have to like it. knowing that and not fighting and not resisting, it's like, it's like a warrior that can actually like let their shield and armor down for a second and breathe. Like I don't
Mhm.
always need to be on alert. I know that I'm always held. I know that I'm always protected. I know that I'm always provided for. So I've healed those components and large fears that would throw me into this hyper insane crazy person. You know what I mean? Like that. So because of that, like that is truly what it means. It's like, no, I can truly be my creative, free flowing self and
Mm,
know that all those other components which shoot me into that hustle, driving, you know, unstable, unsafe person, that's no longer there. And so all my interactions are so much more fluid and,
mm,
so much more in alignment. And when I say in alignment, it's like the things that aren't for me aren't for me, and the ones that are come in really, really fast. So it's like, when you get into the state of alignment, when we talk about
mm,
manifestation and co-creation, things just happen so fast when you're in alignment
mm.
because you're in that receiving mode. You
Yeah.
can actually say, "Oh, right, here it is. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it." And then everything flows. Like energy just flows so much easier when
Mm,
you're back into your innate energy,
yeah.
as opposed to going back to that truth. You know, that was my truth of my reality, but that's not the truth of my soul's essence, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so there was a
yeah.
big shift to you receiving love and support, and you could feel that flow into your life, and your life just flowed more easily, and you felt more at ease. Is that what you're
Yeah.
explaining then, and moved away from
Yeah.
that self-protection?
I mean, like and I don't even know if it's self-protection because we're always
Yeah.
self-protecting, but it's definitely there's no need to fight,
Mm,
right? Like there's no fear. You're not going to be abandoned. You're not going to be left out in the cold. Like there's
mm,
nothing that you've gone through that you can't go through. Like and that's the last 5 years of my journey. But
mm.
obviously, that was co-created for,
Yep.
the 30 some years before that. So it's like,
Yeah.
so it's not, it's something that is built up over time, and it's something that's a
Mm,
direct reflection. But I truly think that, yeah, when you're the living in alignment can only happen if you're aligned with the energy. And I mean, we both have both masculine and feminine. You still take
mm.
masculine action, but now I'm in a healed feminine operating system.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, is now that I've healed some of those really core wounds, both the mother and the father wounds,
Mm,
like once since I've been able to heal both of those energetically, I'm able now to flow, and I'm not
mm.
always thrown off into that driving state,
Yeah.
out of fear.
Yeah. So just on that, what would your message be to a woman who feels like they have to wait until they're healed enough to lead?
I think I think you're always going to need healing. Like I don't think,
Mm,
and once again, like there's I don't think one's ever ready. It's like one's never really ready to be a parent. Like
mm,
it's the same analogy in that sense, or metaphor. Like,
yeah.
oh well, we can wait till this and this and then we can, have children or whatever the case is. Like once again, it's just like no, like you're never ready. If it's something that you
Yeah.
want to do, just like do it. And so um but truly, when it comes to moving forward, your life is a direct reflection of where you are currently. And so, if there are things that you're not happy with, then it's breaking down lower than just the surface levels of
Mm,
why, what is that, and then what's the vision that you actually hold for yourself, so that you can figure out where you need to look into first, right? And
Mm.
most of it really comes down to that self-worth, self-value. Like that is truly the root of it. When you understand your self-worth or your self-value, or you give yourself self-worth or self-value, however you perceive it
Mm.
in your journey, I think that's a huge. I would never consider that I had none because I
Yeah.
masked it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no one would know my story because I masked it. I masked confidence. I masked that I had this together. Like I was, everything was the picture perfect on the outside, the
Mm.
people that knew some stuff, obviously. But I mean, the job, the career, everything as you move forward, all the materialistic things that are not really markers of happiness and success, which what I thought in
Yeah.
my
So,
different
Lara,
perspective.
are you able to share a truth that set you free?
I think one of the biggest things when it came to love and, was that I didn't love my daughter unconditionally. And I think like that was like a huge, because once again, you could do all that inner work yourself and say, I have no worth and value. But I was called out on something that I truly, when I sat with it, it was like, well, no, you wouldn't actually like take a bullet for your daughter, or you
Wow.
wouldn't really like if you were both drowning in the river, would you actually try to save her first or save yourself? And at that moment, and she was young, but in that moment, I would save myself, not
Wow.
her.
That was a hard truth to learn.
Yeah, yeah, because that brought up so much judgment and shame and all that kind of stuff. But that
Mm.
was truly one of those things that I was like, oh my God, that is true about me.
Mm.
I need to fix that
Mm.
and figure out what, why that is. Because the, it was almost like when I said I loved her, it was now bullshit. Like it wasn't real anymore, if that makes sense. Like it was just like,
Mm.
okay, well, like whatever, and the case was, and it all came out around when everyone was, scared for life and careers and jobs around that pandemic, but
Mm.
it was just like, right, like I know I would save myself, and that was a hard
Mm.
reality to swallow. But I think one of the biggest catalysts in figuring out the or realizing, because I mean that truth rippled, all right, like I really don't have that mother innate DNA drive to protect, or you say that you'd
Mm.
protect or do anything for her, but you really wouldn't, because you would save yourself like in that
Mm.
moment. And so it was really, really humbling and really, really, yeah, it really changed and shifted a lot for me that I needed to take a deeper look at. Because you can mask all day long your own stuff, but then when it comes to, like, she was my catalyst for wanting to find love and what does it mean to be loved. You want to be loved.
Yeah.
Like, she was my catalyst for my own personal stuff. She was my catalyst being like, you're really screwed up. You don't even realize how screwed up you are, because that's not a normal mother response for someone who says that she's your entire world when you would
Mm.
really save yourself. And at the time, I was like, no, I wouldn't save her. Like, I would save her for sure. And really, in that moment, that was a lie. Like that did it, yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't the response that I wanted it to be, and that was very, very humbling.
And again, thank you, Lara, for sharing that because that's, pure honesty. Not many parents would say that in this world today and would actually live like you had and telling yourself the thing that you wanted to hear, but to actually feel it and understand it and work through those emotions and bring them all up has actually made you who you are today. So thank you for being so raw and so real with that. Yeah, journey you had there because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that will resonate with you and know that they're not alone with feeling like that and know that there's actually deeper issues around what's happening with them within. It's not their child, it's actually within them. Yeah, so thank you. So, Lara, can you share a gentle ritual that helps you come back to yourself?
I mean, I journal a lot.
Mm,
I do journal a lot. The power of a shower. It's such a cleansing thing. Even like as a new mom, as a mom, whatever the case is, to have a shower does wonders.
yeah.
To sort of once again just calm yourself and shift or give yourself breathing rate room to
Mm.
actually hear your thoughts for a second. But no, I journal constantly and consistently, and
Yeah.
other than that, it's really making sure that I'm really at this point taking care of myself
Mhm.
properly. Like I didn't, you know, making sure that you're eating, making sure that you have 3 meals a day, like, making sure that, different things from a safety perspective are in place. Like these are things that I never used to do before, but are so
Mm.
imperative to, when clear space, clear mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so many
Yeah.
little things that you do on a day-to-day basis. You don't even know how important they are for
Mm.
your mind, your mental state, your physical state, your emotional state. And so, yeah, that's sort of what I do on a daily basis.
Yeah. And that comes back to being kind to yourself, Lara, making sure that you're looked after first so then you can, be there for everyone else around you. So I'm sure a lot of listeners will take that advice. And I'm one too, I'm cleansed in the shower. That's probably the only time I get that quiet time. But yeah, everyone has their different rituals. So it's nice of you to share yours. So, Lara, where can people connect with you, join your circles, or learn from your work?
So I do one-on-one coaching and I also
Mhm.
do group coaching containers as well as I still do intuitive readings as well. I actually have two different coaching containers that really
Mhm.
align. One is parenting from truth. So that is for mothers that want to learn how to parent from truth and not trauma.
Mhm.
And that one is it's a personal one for me. So,
Hmm.
and then I also do a Divine Feminine Business Circle. Once again, from healing sales trauma and reshifting what that means to grow a business in alignment from your truth, I think are both things that I embody on a day-to-day basis, and it's truly a lived experience. And so, yeah, so one-on-one coaching and group coaching and readings are what I do.
Fantastic. I'm sure our listeners will be looking you up and we've heard your personal journey and here today. So I'm sure there'll be many people intrigued about your healing modalities out there. And finally, what would you say to someone who feels like their story is too messy to matter?
One thing at a time. One,
Mhm.
like we all have very complex stories. And what is trauma for me is not for
Mm.
someone else, and vice versa. And I truly think all you need to just choose that you want something different and choose that every single morning and every single moment of the day. It's making sure that you are choosing what is aligned with the vision that you hold for yourself, as opposed to doing what is easier in the moment. So it's holding that vision. I think holding the vision is imperative and key to reminding yourself where you're going and why you're choosing what you're choosing.
Mm, yeah. Well, Lara, thank you for bringing us back to what's real, especially here today. You have been very real and honest with us, and you've also reminded us that alignment isn't about getting it all right, it's about getting honest. And that healing doesn't always look pretty, but it can feel like peace. And that our softness, our sensitivity, and our truth is not our weakness, it is where our power lives. So thank you, Lara, for your honesty and your raw stories with us and experience.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And to our listeners, if you have been performing, protecting, or pretending just to get through, take this as your invitation to exhale. You don't have to be healed to be whole. You don't have to be perfect to lead, and you don't have to do it alone. This is Positive Vibes. Until next time, keep building a world where truth is honoured, healing is embodied, and softness is sacred. Sending you all love and positive vibes. Bye for now.